Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, As-salatu Wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. We begin with the praise of Allah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to shower His blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family and his illustrious companions. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, before I begin, I'd like to apologize to you, first of all, to seek your forgiveness. Unfortunately, I had made a miscalculation of the train times. I was supposed to be here for Zuhr Salah. Some of you have been waiting for the program, so I do apologize for that. Inshallah, I seek your forgiveness, then I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla also to forgive me. So thank you for waiting. Inshallah ta'ala, I hope and pray that today's gathering will be beneficial for myself as well as all of you, and we could leave here more enlightened than we came in. Inshallah ta'ala, to benefit ourselves in this dunya and in the akhirah. The question and the subject of today that I want to discuss with you is a good life. What is a good life? Now, the problem with the question is that if you ask anybody in the world, whether they come from America, Japan, South Africa, North Africa, Middle Africa, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, people who live in the middle of the jungles, or people who live in China, you will get varied answers. But essentially, what every human being is looking for is contentment in the heart. How they do it is different. And what they do sometimes gives them temporary contentment, but in the long term it's damaging to them. But what they're really looking for is contentment. Some sort of inner satisfaction. So when a man gets a brand new Mercedes or a Lamborghini, he's not really buying the car for himself. He's buying it for other people. Because he's sitting inside, he's not going to see the beauty of it. He's doing it in order to get something within himself for a moment or so where he feels somehow that he's contented. Somehow he's achieved something. And this lasts a few seconds here and there, a few hours. And that's why every salespeople, whenever they sell you something, they know that the moment you buy something, after a period, you go through a regret period. Whether it's the latest iPhone or latest the Samsung Galaxy, it isn't really exactly what you were looking for or how they described it on the television program. It's not as really as great and wonderful as you thought it was. So this thing that we're looking for, some sort of contentment to have a good life in this world, comes to every single human being, the desire for it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. Whoever does good deeds, whether they're male or female, this is very important. In the world, you and I, man one, woman another. But to Allah, there is no difference between man and woman. So Allah is saying, whoever does any good deed, be that person a man or a woman, or who are mu'min, and that person is a believer, فَلَا نُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. Then we will give them a good life. Not life after death, good life here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whoever does any good deed, be it man or woman, it doesn't matter. As long as they're believers, they have iman, I will give them a good life. We will grant them a good life. So this is the question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise cannot be wrong. But our definition of a good life is a problem. Because whoever you ask of a definition of a good life, they will say, if I have money, and some people will say health as well, but majorly they mean if I have wealth, I've got a good life. This is the definition. Whoever you ask. Sometimes we're religious, we say, no, good life is being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say it with our tongue, illa mashallah, but our heart says something else. I walk past, I don't know Newport very well, but in Swansea there are some areas, very rich people live there. And when I see one of those houses, my heart also says, I wish I was living there. I'm sure you have such areas in Newport. Right? So you pass those houses and you see, if that house was only mine. Even though I'm religious, no doubt. I'm driving or I'm walking down the road and this guy waves at me with his brand new Mercedes. I wish I was in there. This is the way we think, illa mashallah, except whom Allah has granted respite from this. So we think a good life is somebody who's made it with wealth, somebody has a lot of wealth, and he has a lot of possessions. So we confuse a good life with material possessions. The one who possesses the most is the happiest man on the face of this earth. He is the best. He is the joy. And this is the illusion and delusion of this world. The second thing we have a problem with is defining what is good. Allah says, whoever does good deeds. So what is good? Everybody has their own definition of what is good and what is bad. You ask anyone. So they will give their own definition of what is good and what is bad, and in their own world, they will be thinking that they're doing good. I'll give you an extreme example. Pickpockets. Right? Pickpockets Association. They have their own rules. Back in India and Bangladesh, they have a rule. What is the rule? Long as you're loyal to your guru, it doesn't matter if you're pickpocketing. So what they do pickpocketing, at the end of the day, put all their money together in one place. The guru takes some, gives them some back, and gives the policeman a little bit so they leave them alone. So their honesty and their integrity is with their guru. That's their concept of goodness. If they cheat their master, that's real bad. Pickpocketing is not a problem. Robbing somebody else is not a problem. As long as they're loyal to their master, that's where the reality of their understanding of good and bad is. So Allah gives a condition. If you do good deeds, you will have a good life. Our definition of good is a problem, and also our definition of good life is a problem. Now, Allah gives a condition of having Iman. I want to ask you, from the beginning of time of Adam a.s. until today, and until Yawm al-Qiyamah, you can even say, who are the people who had the greatest Iman and good deeds? Who are the people who had the greatest Iman and good deeds? Huh? Who? The prophets, the Anbiya, Jazakallah khair. So the prophets had the highest level of Iman, right? No doubt about that. And the prophets, they had the highest level of Iman and good deeds, no doubt. If you look in the lives of the prophets, do you find wealthy lives? So Allah promises people that if you have Iman, you'll have a good life. But if you look into the lives of the Anbiya, we don't find very wealthy lives. There are some rare exceptions, but even then, they used to earn their own daily living with their own hands. We don't find very wealthy lives. We find at some places abject poverty and hardship in the lives of the prophets of God. Take the example of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Isa alayhi salam, according to the narrations, used to own two things in his lives. He had a comb and he had a little cup. He traveled. One day, he was going past a little lake. He saw a man drinking water with his own hands. So Isa alayhi salam dropped his cup. He went further another day. He saw a man combing his beard with his fingers. So he dropped his comb. So the prophets, they don't have very wealthy lives. Allah says, those who have Iman and good deeds, we will give them the best lives. So we got to understand now what is good life, what is best life. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by a good life, we got to understand that. Just because we go after possession of wealth, doesn't necessarily mean that we will have a good life. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, you and I need to reflect. Because this definition has made human beings go crazy. Whenever they become young, they go through a range in their lives. 16, 17, 18, desire to pile up the wealth of this world makes them go nuts. Halal and haram doesn't matter. As they say in Hindi, pehle paisa phir bhagwan. Let's talk about money first, we'll talk about God afterwards. Doesn't matter whether it's halal or haram. I got to possess the money. I got to own the biggest houses. I got to drive the most smartest cars. Because if I don't, somehow I'm a failure. So these things make people go crazy. They don't worry about their salah. They don't worry about the commitment to God. As long as I'm making money, as long as I'm doing it, my bank account is getting fuller and fuller, my car is getting better and better, I am better off. And that has allowed human beings to be misguided by shaitan. To think that later on I would repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I get older. I would make millions with haram money and I would build a few mosques and madrasas, Jannatul Firdaus would be mine. I would go to Hajj, get my certificate. And when Jibreel on the day of judgment stops me on the gate of Jannah, look, Saudi government said I've done Hajj, let me in. That's our concept. Why? Because shaitan said, it doesn't matter, make money. Hook or crook, it makes no difference. Because you will be it, you will be the man. If you're the one who possesses all the money. So it makes people go crazy. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ta'isa abdu dinari wa dirham. Cursed is the slave of the dinar and the dirham. The one who makes himself slave to money, he is cursed. The one who gives himself up to wealth and the desire for it, but he no longer cares what is halal and what is haram, is cursed. Not my words, words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we all know that this desire to make more and more of this world never, ever, ever comes to an end. And therefore, a person who has striven to wealth, in Islam, by the way, before I make this point very clear, it is not haram in Islam to pursue wealth. Nor is it wrong to be wealthy. This is very important. Nor is it wrong for you to strive the hardest in your business or your profession to get to the top. In fact, if you do that, you're following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the teachings of the Quran. What is wrong is in order to pursue it, you forget Allah and His Prophet ﷺ. That's where the problem lies. That's where the problem isn't in wealth. The problem isn't in pursuing education or anything. These are all virtuous things. The problem lies when you and I allow it to take over our mind, our sanity, take over our very understanding of what is good and what is bad in this world, and we strive only for that. So what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Alhaakumut takathur. This mutual competition you have with each other to pile up the wealth of this world will not come to an end until you go to your graves. It's not going to come to an end. One day after it will continue and it will destroy you and me. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if the son of Adam was given a valley full of gold, what would he do? He would like to have two valleys. The words of the Prophet ﷺ cannot be wrong. And we are all children of Adam. If I am given a valley full of gold, my next desire will be to get the second one. And he said, for nothing fills the mouth except for dust. Nothing will fill it. What does Prophet ﷺ mean by dust? Is when you go into your grave and dust enters you, that's the only time the satisfaction will come. Then he continues, and Allah forgives who repents to Him. There is another hadith, very similar in wording. Rasulullah said, nothing will satisfy the belly of the son of Adam except for the dust of his own grave. Nothing will bring him to contentment. And it is this desire constantly to get that last one. The last one more destroys a human being. Let me tell you a little story. Once there was a king. He was very pleased with his servant who has been serving him for many years. So the king said to him, in his late 40s, he said, look, I want to reward you. I want you to walk and run in this direction. Wherever you stop, all the land from here to the moment that you stop is all yours. It's all yours. Anything. So this man is now pleased. He's going to run towards the north. Anything that comes is his. So he starts running. And he sees beautiful land. He sees a small hill. He gets on top of this hill and he looks down and he sees a beautiful valley in front of him. Trees, everything there, looking very beautiful. Good agricultural land. He sees, oh, subhanAllah, all this is mine. If I stop on the top of the hill, I won't get this. So he runs down the hill. Then he runs up the hill again. He gets to see the top of the hill. He looks down, he sees another valley even more beautiful than that one. This one has a running river. Animals everywhere. He thinks this is even more bigger than the last valley that I've seen. So he goes down the valley and he goes up the valley again. He says, subhanAllah, if I can only get to the top, all the second valley will also be mine. He gets to the second valley and he looks down and he sees even more bigger valley right the one below. Twice as the size, more beautiful trees, more beautiful agricultural land, animals everywhere. He says, if I run behind with this one, all this will be mine. He runs and he runs and he runs, and he gets to the bottom and he looks up and he says, subhanAllah, has such a beautiful hill. He runs up as just before he gets to the third hill to the top, he has a heart attack and dies. That is the reality of what you and I are pursuing in everyday life. One more value. One more. And while forgetting Allah and forgetting the Prophet, forgetting the teachings, forgetting what is valuable, what is important, we're going forward for these values one after the other. Unfortunately, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, these things never come to an end. So when we see people who have greater wealth, don't be fooled. You don't know what's going on in that house. How much stress that person's going through. How much worry that person is going through. How restless he is. You're sitting here suddenly relaxed, he's panicking. Busiest night tonight. No time to listen to any talk. No time for the whole prayer. You're relaxed, he's panicking. He can't sleep. You're sleeping comfortably. Without 2 tablets, no sleep. No sleep. No tranquility, no inner joy in their hearts. No real contentment. And if you look at the situation of non-Muslims, we see far, far worse. Alcoholism, drugs. Only why? Looking for contentment in their hearts. Biggest killer of young people in the Western world is suicide. Why? Devoid of any contentment, devoid of any joy, as if it's been snatched away from them. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says good life is only given to those who do good deeds and those who have iman and amal salih. This is the definition of good life. So when we look around us, we see something, but in reality it is something else. It is something else. I'll give you an example. You see in poor countries, like Bangladesh and others, some, I'm sure most of you are from Bangladesh. You go Bangladesh, you see a rich man, always in stress. Diabetes, cholesterol, ulcer, all of them are in there. And take a poor man. The rich man gets up in the morning, he goes into his kitchen, air conditioned, is sitting there, eats his breakfast, gets in the car into an air conditioned car, goes to his air conditioned office, sits in his air conditioned office, works all evening, comes back in his air conditioned car, goes back to his air conditioned house, he's sitting there, all air conditioned. He has his evening meal, he sits there, eats his evening meal in his air conditioned kitchen, dining room, he then goes into his air conditioned bedroom, sleeps next to his air conditioned wife, and he can't get any sleep in the night. No sleep, no joy. 2 tablets, then he sleeps. Same country in Bangladesh, middle of Zohar Salah, in the hot days, 35, 36 degrees, a man is sleeping under the tree. Even if a bomb explodes, he won't wake up. Same country. He won't wake up, he's sleeping, snoring away. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that gift to him. Sleep is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I remember a man was saying, this is Sheikh was relating this story. He came to the Sheikh and he said, my doctor is brilliant here, Sheikh. He said, what happened? He said, look, I've been having trouble sleeping. I've been having trouble sleeping for months. I can't sleep. This doctor gave me 2 tablets. I take them in the night and I sleep so well. The doctor is amazing. The Sheikh said to him, how old are you? He said, I'm 45 years old. He said, for 45 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you sleep every night. And you woke up every morning, you didn't thank Allah once. And this doctor charged you 400 rupees and you're thanking him, you fool. 45 years you've been sleeping. 45 years you've been going to the toilet, everything coming out. Now you go to the toilet, nothing comes out, you pay the doctor, you thank the doctor. This is the condition of man. He doesn't realize what he's got already had from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ability to sleep in contentment is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Insomnia is a big problem. If Allah has given you that, He's already given you something great. Even if the man possesses all the wealth of this world, he will not have this. The contentment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to the believer. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لَيْسَ الْغِنَىٰ عَنْ كَثْرَةِ الْعَرَاضِ. Prosperity is not measured in the material possession. He said, prosperity, your wealth is not measured by how much you own. وَلَكِنَّ الْغِنَىٰ غِنَى النَّفْسِ. Real contentment is the contentment of the heart. If Allah has given you that, you are the richest man on the face of this earth. A king is a beggar as long as there's greed in his heart. A king is a beggar as long as there's greed in his heart, and a beggar is king if he's content. He's a king already. Doesn't need to worry about anything else. But the king hasn't got it. Look at the situation with Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world. Armies at his disposal. He is the king. He could kill anyone, do anything he likes. One of the greatest serial killers in human history, killing babies. Most powerful man. One dream, all gone. No more contentment in his heart. One dream. So possessing of these things does not make person contentment. It is the contentment that Allah gives the person. That's what makes a person happy. That's what makes the person have a good life. So when you look around, my dear brothers, it's natural to feel something in your heart. This is human nature. But be assured that if your connection with Allah is good, nobody is luckier on this face of this earth than you. Nobody is. Everything else is just an illusion and a delusion. Be content with a believing wife and a believing husband. Be content. Don't be fooled by these handsome figures on TV or these beautiful actresses and singers thinking somehow they've got a better life than yours. I ask you a simple question. Nobody arranges their marriage, right? They choose themselves. Film actors, do they arrange their marriage for them? No, they choose, don't they? Agree? Their uncle don't force them to marry somebody they didn't want. So here is the most handsome man on the face of this earth. And here is the most beautiful woman on the face of this earth. They get married. Why do they divorce? Don't you see divorce high amongst these rich, powerful, professional people? Don't you see that very high? Why? You married to the most beautiful woman. What's the problem? You married to the most handsome man. What's the problem? Problem is there's no contentment in your heart. You're looking for it in the wrong place. You're looking for it in the wrong place. So you're not going to find it. So you have to search in the contentment and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the condition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in order to find contentment in the heart is that you have to be a mu'min, a believer. This is the best translation for it. The question now comes, what is the difference between a Muslim and a mu'min? There are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. And we as Muslims have no right to say to another Muslim that you're not a mu'min, you're a believer. We have no right to question somebody else's iman. This is not allowed. The only time you can say somebody is outside the fold of Islam is when they do or say something that takes them out. This is very important. We don't judge other human beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who judges. This is very important for us. So what is the important thing for us to realize? Who is the one who has real iman in their heart? That is the question. We're all Muslims. I'll relate a story which my teacher told me. This is a true story that took place in Indian subcontinent when there was no Pakistan, Bangladesh or India. So this is a story from my teacher and his teacher, okay? Two levels down, it's an authentic story. Before the partition, in the northern parts of India, Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs, they used to divide many places in the same village. So whenever they had a problem or something to discuss, they called the panchayat, where the elders of the village would gather in a circle under the tree, and they would discuss. They would discuss, solve their problems and do anything like this. So one day they were sitting in this panchayat and discussing. The discussion went on. Suddenly the muazzin called the adhan. So all the Muslims got up and went, all the elders. There were some young Muslims, dressed in trousers and shirt, nicely educated, didn't go. So they're sitting in this gathering. The young Muslims, they didn't go. They're dressed in shirt, college graduates. Salah is not for us, it's for the elders that didn't go. So there was a Hindu man sitting there, he got very offended. So he said to the young man, he said, see these people over there, they're Sikhs. Muazzin called, they didn't go. See us, we're Hindus. The Muazzin called, we didn't go. And all those people who went said they're Muslims. When the Muazzin called, they went. What is your religion? What's your religion? The Sikhs didn't go. The Hindus didn't go. All the Muslims went. So what's your religion? Why are you sitting in this gathering? What is your religion? What do you follow? What do you believe? This is a lesson for us to think. What is the criterion that divides a Muslim from a non-Muslim? It is Salah. It is not our skin color. There are many brown people who are not Muslims. It is not our language. There are many people who speak Bengali and not Muslims. Go to North Bengal, West Bengal, if you don't believe me. There are many people who are Arab speakers and not Muslims. 13 million Arabic-speaking Coptic Christians in Egypt. In Lebanon, you'll find them. So it's not the language, it's not the race, it's not the color of the skin. What is the distinguishing feature? Distinguishing feature is salah. So the first and the most important duty of the believer is salah. Abandon that, you've abandoned all good. Abandon salah and you abandon your connection with Allah. And your right to contentment is already gone. Your right to inner joy is already gone, it's finished. You turn away from the masjids, you've turned away from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first criterion that distinguishes us. The first thing, how do you know somebody is a Muslim? He is praying salah. Nobody else does it. We are the only people on the face of this earth who does this act. So the distinguishing feature is this. This is what keeps us content. This is what brings us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say to Bilal, Arihna biha ya Bilal. Oh Bilal, soothe us with it. Whenever there was a concern and worry, Rasulullah used to call Bilal to call the adhan. For the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his rest, his joy in life was in prayer. You got to understand this. It's a different attitude. For us, prayer is up, down, peg the ground, back to town. That's it. Pecking like a bird, illa mashallah. There is no contentment in salah. We should relax and enjoy it. Take your time. It's 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Take your time over it. Read things slowly. Because you're saying things to Allah. You're saying things to Allah. You might not understand it, but you're saying something. What that is your duty to find out. Because you're saying it every day. You work in your business, do you say things you don't understand? Do you go to school and say things you don't understand? Do you repeat something that you don't have no idea what it is? Do you learn a few words in Chinese that utter it but no meaning? You even I don't do that. With salah we are content. Let me give you an examples of what you're saying in your salah. Okay? Now, please, this is very important. Don't judge anybody else. As Muslims, the first thing we must learn not to judge others. Look at it, myself and yourself. I have plenty of things to improve rather than accuse my brother of something else. So when I say I'm talking about myself, so please don't be offended. Just think how long your sajda lasts. Sajda, when you go to the ground, how long does it last? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Now I want you to say to yourself in English, I want you all repeat after me. Glory be to my Lord. Repeat. Glory be to my Lord. Glory be to my Lord. Together, please.
Glory be to my Lord.
The Most High.
The Most High.
Glory be to my Lord, 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 the Most High.
How can you say that 3 times in 1 second? Your mind is somewhere else. Guaranteed. I can guarantee you, Shaitan is making you think you're saying it, but you're not. How can you say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la 3 times properly in 1 second or 2 seconds? Can you do it? Impossible. Try it. Time yourself. Time yourself. And ask, are you really saying that in your salah? Because our mind is somewhere else in salah. And there are many reasons. There are specific jinns that attack you when you pray. That's their job. So the first line of defense is to do wudu properly. Your first line of defense. But you should learn what you're saying. Because if you understand what you're saying in your salah, you'll be able to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better. You'll be able to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better. I'll give you another example. We say to each other, Assalamu alaikum. Agreed? Assalamu alaikum means something in Arabic. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum, peace of Allah be upon you all. What do we shorten to? Sakum? Sakum, brother. What did you say to him? Did you make a dua for him or a curse? What's sakum? What is sakum? You giving somebody tea? Sa? What are you doing? Sakum, brother. What is sakum? Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Now if I say that to you, now I can't cheat you. I can't backbite you. I can't slander you. If I know what I'm really saying, you turn your back, I talk against you. How come? I just said, peace and blessings of Allah be upon you. So the first thing to do now is to build our connection with Allah, is learn what you're saying in your salah. It will take you no more than 5 hours. If you study this week, by next Friday, you'll understand most of what you're saying in your salah. It's very easy. So when you learn to pray, learn what you're saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhana Rabbiyal Ala. Glory be to my Lord the Most High. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Glory be to my Lord the Most Magnificent. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allah has heard the one who has praised him. Rabbana lakal hamd. We praise you, our Lord. That's what you're saying. So when you're standing in prayer, the communication with Allah, the first kind of contentment is understanding what you're saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in salah, you and I are turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as slaves. As slaves, handing over all our problems to Allah azza wa jal. In between our prayers, we are surrendering to Allah. We are criminals, we committed sins, Ya Allah, you are the only one who can forgive. You are the only one who can forgive. So in your heart, if the sins is making you feel bad, if your own condition is making you feel bad, in the salah, you've got your solution to your problems. There are many brothers I know, I have the same, give them dawah. I said, brother, I can't come to the mosque, I can't pray. He said, brother, I've got this problem in my life, I've got that problem, I'm selling alcohol, I'm doing this, I need to finish this, then I'll come and pray. When I become perfect, I'll start praying. Just like a man saying, I got diabetes, when I'm cured, I'll go take medicine. When all the symptoms of diabetes is gone, I'm cured, then I'm taking medicine. Salah is the one that's going to stop you from what you're doing. You're not taking the medicine. So whatever problem you and I have in our life, the real solution to our problem is our salah, our connection with Allah, our zakah, our hajj. Everything in Islam is designed for your benefit. Now I want to ask you a question. If all the people of Newport decided tomorrow morning that they're all going to pray every single salah on time properly, do you think the power of Allah will increase? No. If everybody, na'udhu billah, decided tomorrow they're never going to pray again, will the power of Allah decrease? No. Na'udhu billah. Allah doesn't need your prayer. You and I need it. Anything in our religion, if you actually study it, you'll find it's for your benefit. Why did Allah make certain things haram for you? It's because of your benefit. Why did Allah make alcohol haram? The people who drink alcohol, they said, I drink alcohol because I'm so sorrowful. When I drink alcohol, I feel happier. I said to them, look, I have dealt with many alcoholics in my life. I've never met one happy alcoholic. I haven't. I've dealt 6 years, I was in prison as an imam. And I dealt with many suffering alcohol. Not a single one is happy. So if alcohol made you happy, why aren't you happy? If drugs make you happy, why aren't you happy? Because drug addict's got no option. He takes drugs, he's up in cloud 9. As soon as the drug's taken off, he's back down, worse than when he started. The only option he's got is go back to cloud 9 again. That's why he's always dazed. These things are not making you happy. You're saying it yourself. Where does this contentment come from? And you go to the doctors for your sadness and your sorrow and your pain. Yes, clinically depressed, you need medicine. But there is no solution, my dear brother. All they do with these medicines, I can tell you, I know many brothers who are pharmacists. If you ask them what is the number one medicine dispensed, apart from painkillers, they'll tell you antidepressants. They'll tell you antidepressants. Number one medicine. People are not happy. These tablets don't work. I'll give you an example. This is given by another sheikh. I'll share it with you. A man goes to the mechanic and he says, look, my car has a problem. It makes a tick, 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 tick sound. I can't solve it. So the mechanic looks at the car, tries to find the problem. The man comes back and says, look, I've looked at your car. I can't find where that problem tick, tick, tick sound comes from. But I got an advice for you. Next time it comes, put the radio on loud or you won't hear it. That's all they're doing. Numbing it. Problem's still there. Problem's still there. It's getting bigger and bigger. But he doesn't know. Rasulullah said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is a cure to 99 illnesses. Least of it is depression. So in Islam, in your salah is your cure, your solution to your good life. It is the way you and I strive in this world that makes us happy. If you become the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you strive in Allah's deen, you do your level best. You're never going to be perfect. You do your level best to serve Allah in whatever capacity Allah has put you on earth. You level best. You strive in that path. All mistakes that you make, Allah will forgive them. Mistakes, not minful. For that you make tawbah. But you make mistake, Allah will forgive you. But your direction in life is problem. My direction in life is problem. Is my direction, aim and goal in life is to praise the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla on earth? Am I striving for the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Al-kayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. The wise one is the one who controls his desires. The wise one is the one who controls his desires and works hard for the life to come, the other life. The wise one is the one who controls his life and works hard for the life to come. The foolish one, he follows whatever his heart tells him to do. And then he hopes that Allah will forgive him. So the wise one is the one who's trying for the akhirah. He's striving. So because he's trying for the akhirah, he becomes a friend of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the first reward in dunya is contentment in the heart. Allah gives contentment in the heart. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have hardship in the dunya. It does. No human beings is without hardship. And the biggest mistake we fools make in this world is that this world is it. We're here for joy. So we think the world is a holiday. It is not a holiday. It's a place of work. The place for resting is the hereafter, not here. So we make a mistake. We want the best in this world. So we strive for it. But we realize that we're going to have to leave this world one day or the other. A man came once to a very famous scholar named Abdul Qadir Jilani, rahmatullah alayhi, and he said to him, with a big bundle of money, he said, please take this from me. Shaykh said, I don't want it. He said, please, it's a gift. Please take it. He said, I don't want your money, take it away. He said, it's a gift, you can't refuse a gift, take it. He said, okay, give me. He said, what do you want? He said, make dua for me. He said, what dua do you want? He said, make dua, Allah gives me lots of money. So the Shaykh said, I'm better off than you are. I don't have, I don't want. You have, you want more. So the thing that we have to do is to strive in Allah's way, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not look at other people's mistakes. The biggest problem we have in the Muslim community today, we are outward looking. If nobody else prays, okay, I don't pray. As if there's a quote that X number of people have to go to Jannah. And X number of people have to go to Jahannam. If none of my friends are praying, why should I pray? If none of my friends are giving zakat, why should I give zakat? If none of my friends are going to Hajj until they're 50 years old and can't move anymore, why should I go to Hajj when I'm young? And that's why Rasulullah said, be careful whom you choose to be a friend, because a person follows the religion of his friend. You follow the way of the people. So we look around us and we try to measure our standard by what we see around us. And this is a problem. We should all strive to go through life and not look at other people. When we see somebody is young and he's become a hafiz of Quran, very rare do we say, oh, I could be like him. When we see somebody striving in Allah's religion going forward, we don't say I could be like him. But if we see somebody driving a car, I can be like him. Who's he? Which moon did he land from? If he made it, I can make it. He started with nothing, now he's a multi-millionaire. If he can do it, why can't I? But if you see people praying 5 times a day, you don't say that he can pray, why can't I? He's reading Quran, why can't I? Our orientation is wrong. And this is why sadness and sorrow and misery has hit us. Let me give you the secret formula to everlasting happiness. Not my words, but the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Unzur ila man asfala minkum." Look at those who are inferior to you, meaning in wealth and material possession. When you look at those who are lower than you. Unzur ila man asfala minkum. All of you look at those who are lower than you in material possession.